Welcome to Session 8 of Marketing Step by Step. Marketing as Education. It's easy to forget that most people have no clue. Most people who are experiencing a need have very little education about their problem and about how to solve it successfully. Even with access to so much information, most people are still in quiet desperation. The average human being has so many things to track in their mind, so many different things going on, so many demands on their attention, that it's hard for them to get the education that they need so that they can even understand what their problem is. So prospects are making all kinds of intuitive leaps, all kinds of guesses about their problems. And as you probably have experienced, when you don't understand something, but you think that you understand it and you start taking actions to try to solve it, in many cases you just make the problem worse. You make the problem worse than it is. If you add to that when we humans have problems, when we have fears, when we have pain, we tend to pull in. Okay, we don't go out. We tend to pull in because we're embarrassed. We feel shame, guilt. We don't know who to talk to about the challenges that we have. And when you pull in and you go to work trying to fix something yourself, especially when you have no clue and you don't really understand it, you usually make things worse. So by the time you do get out and try to find help, the situation has gotten really out of control. Education as you market and sell your products and services. Education can be used successfully to both help people solve their problems and to help people see their problems. Educating also helps build credibility and trust, which are essential to action. Now, what we're going to talk about now is education as marketing. Okay? Education as marketing. This is an idea that I originally got from Jay Abraham, again, the modern marketing guru. And what he says is that when you're selling and you're marketing, oftentimes your customers, they don't even know enough to make a good decision. Oftentimes they don't even know enough to know what the problem is. They just know that they've got a fear, a frustration, a pain. They've gotten themselves into a situation, or they have a want, a desire, an aspiration, and they don't know how to get it. So oftentimes these folks need some education to help get them to the point where they can even make a good informed decision. In this context, you can really use education successfully, both to help people solve the problem and to help them see what the problem is. And again, when you educate, if you do it well, it builds credibility and it builds trust, which are essential to your prospect taking action. People don't make decisions, they don't buy things, they don't invest their hard-earned money and time unless they feel some level of trust, okay, some level that you have credibility, that they can trust you. So education can be used for this purpose as well. I'd now like to talk to you about a form of education marketing that is exploding on the scene on the internet, and it even has a name. It's called content marketing. A new form of marketing has evolved with the mainstream adoption of the internet. It's called content marketing, which is basically creating content that attracts prospective customers. This is really the ultimate education marketing, as it's typically in the form of an educational tip or a video. So you may have seen online now all of these websites popping up that have various tips and content and information like eHow, and even websites like YouTube and others are full of how-to tips and other types of content. And the reason why these websites are successful is because people want to know how to do things. They want to get an education on a topic, figure out how to solve a problem, which oftentimes now in the knowledge age and the knowledge economy is using knowledge to solve their knowledge problems. And so this is exploding. This is content marketing. Also, search engine rankings now are largely dependent on the quality and quantity of content and education that you have on your website. And this is all measured by people clicking, people staying on your website, et cetera, et cetera. Turns out that even though content marketing is new, it's something that I've been doing now for about 10 years. And in fact, it formed the foundation of my original marketing strategy when I wrote my first book that I put online about 10 years ago now. After putting the book online and selling it on a simple direct response marketing website, what I did is I created an email newsletter, and I started sending out 2-3 of these email newsletters per week that were usually 10 to 20 pages long, full of all kinds of valuable tips, fun insights, interactions with customers, and even some kind of comedy and so forth that acted as education and marketing materials. And I've found myself that content marketing is very, very valuable. In fact, I'll teach you some techniques later in the program to really get the most out of content marketing. But the point is that you can use education as part of your marketing and your sales process. You can create pieces of content or educational tips or articles or videos that you can put online, and you can jump on the bandwagon of people that are using this very, very successfully to market their products and their services. Now, along with content marketing, we want to beware what we might call the content trap, because content marketing is also very alluring to those marketing chickens who would prefer to avoid any kind of selling or marketing. But don't get distracted. The best content marketing uses all of the power tools of direct marketing. It doesn't skip them. So what do I mean here when I say that the best content marketing uses the power tools of direct marketing? When you heard me say you can use education as your marketing, you can create content and that can help generate your customers. A part of your mind may have said, oh, that's great because I really didn't want to do this sales stuff and I really didn't want to do this marketing anyway. That sounded like stuff where I'd have to deal with rejection. Okay, that's where the human mind automatically goes. The problem with just creating content or education that isn't using all of the mindsets, all of the tactics, all the strategies that you're learning here is that it becomes almost like branding in that it doesn't convince people to buy stuff from you. It doesn't pull in highly qualified prospects, get them interested, build trust and rapport and desire, and then turn them into a sale, turn them into a customer. What it does is it just gives out more information that takes up mind share and takes up their time. So as we're talking about creating education-based marketing, as we're talking about creating content marketing, as we're talking about creating useful, valuable tips, websites, articles, and videos that will go out and do your marketing, we're not talking about just making some more stuff that people can look at. We're talking about actually taking everything we're learning here and wrapping it up in the form of an article, or wrapping it up in the form of a video, or wrapping it up in the form of an educational tip. We're not going to abandon what we've learned here. We still need to identify our customer. We need to create our customer avatar. We need to know where to look for them. We need to understand all of their irrational psychology. We need to identify their emotional hot buttons. We need to know the language that they use to talk to themselves. We need to know the fears and frustrations and wants and aspirations and the fantasies that they have. And then when we create our content, when we create our education marketing, it's tuned specifically to that person, and it's using all of the power of direct marketing to pull them in, build trust, educate them, but educate them in a way that will help them make a decision to purchase your products and services. Now let's talk about another version of education marketing and content marketing. This we might call editorial marketing, a time-tested way to increase attention, interest, and response to your marketing is to format it as an editorial style or design, or, by the way, even better, a personal communication. Infomercials, advertorials, magalogs, many blogs, and other formats exemplify this strategy. The design of your marketing alone can increase or decrease the views and engagement by 500% or more. Okay, so what is editorial marketing? What is editorial? Well, editorial is used to describe kind of journalistic pieces that you might see inside of a magazine, or you might see inside of a newspaper, or a clip like you might see on a news program on television. Okay, this is all editorial. And when something is in an editorial format, like an article in a magazine or a blog post or a news program, it's immediately perceived as true. In fact, if you see something that's laid out like a newspaper article, people will automatically read it, they'll let down their defenses, and they will approach it as if it must be true just because of the way that it's designed. Okay, so this is taking advantage of all of the trust and all of the automatic response that's been built up to the types of designs that editorial publications and editorial programs use. So do I mean here that by just taking your marketing piece and laying it out so that it looks like a news piece or like a news program or an article or a blog, that you can dramatically increase your response? Yes, that's exactly what I mean. David Ogilvy, I believe it was, in Ogilvy on Advertising, demonstrated that in his tests, just taking an advertisement and laying it out like a news article that would be in a newspaper increased the readership by 500%. Okay, so what could possibly be going on here? Well, it turns out that advertisers, marketers, those of us that are trying to sell our stuff in magazines and newspapers and on the radio and the television and on the internet, we unconsciously believe that we need to make our advertisements look like advertisements. When we make our ads look and sound and feel like ads, they look and sound and feel to customers like they have no value, and we skip them. Okay, so just think about when you're surfing on the internet and you see a banner ad. You don't even look at it anymore because you know that's where the ads are that aren't valuable. When you're watching a television program and the ads come on, you just skip. You get up. That's when you take your break and you leave the television, because we don't perceive that things that are formatted like advertisements are valuable to us. This is why infomercials have adopted, you guessed it, an editorial or informational format, where they're set up to teach, educate, inform, and they've included the sales message inside. Advertorials are ads that are in magazines that are laid out to look like an article. You may have seen these. They say advertisement at the top, and they have a headline and pictures and columns of text. Again, laid out just like an editorial, except at the end they ask for response. Another one is the magalog. So something that's formatted to look like a magazine, except that it's a catalog. And when you open it up, even though it makes for interesting reading, there's something being sold at the end of every one of those articles. Blogs are now often being used to sell because the format is seen as basically the editorial format of the internet. So formatting your marketing and your sales pieces like blog posts, that alone can increase the readership, the engagement, and the trust. So the point here, the takeaway from this, is that if you want to increase your readership, increase your trust, increase your response, stop designing advertisements, stop designing marketing pieces, and start designing useful, educational, friendly-looking, information, content, education, and put your marketing inside of it. Okay, use all of these techniques, put it inside the education, the content, and the editorial. That's how you will win trust, readership, viewership, engagement, and response. And finally, pay attention to the details. It's not intuitive that you can increase your response and your results so dramatically by simply laying out your marketing differently or formatting it differently. Start paying attention to how news sites, blogs, magazines, and educational videos design and format their content and how they design and format the structure of their information itself. Begin using these styles and these formats to increase your response. So what I'd like you to start doing is pay attention to how editorial and educational content is formatted. Okay? Notice how they design it. Notice what they say first, what they say second. Notice the colors, the fonts, the alignments. Start paying attention to all the little details, because those little details offer clues and cues that human beings follow to decide what to look at, what to pay attention to, what to trust, and what to respond to. We'll get into more details and tactics later in this program. You'll learn exactly how to do this. But for now, what I would like you to do is start paying careful attention to all the little details of content, of editorial, of educational materials, so that you can start using these layouts and designs and architectures for your marketing and sales materials. So let's do an exercise. Becoming an education marketer. Becoming an education marketer. Okay, so you should have the exercise in front of you called Becoming an Education Marketer. Most prospective customers are relatively uneducated about how to solve their challenges in the best way. One way to build credibility and trust, as well as create motivation in your prospects and advantage for yourself, is to educate as you market and sell. Okay? Educate as you market and sell. The key to using education successfully in your marketing is to make sure that the education you're delivering leads to a sale, not just to more knowledge for the customer. So answer these 3 questions in this exercise. First, where does my prospective customer have misinformation or lack of information that is dangerous to them? What do they know that ain't so? Or what do they not know that they don't even know they don't know? Okay, where do they have misinformation or lack of information that's dangerous to them, that you could educate them about? You'll also notice, if you just think about it, that when they have misinformation or lack of information that's dangerous, you giving it to them will motivate them more to solve their problem, which is the point. Next, what information, if my prospective customer were to learn it, would help them see just how important it is to solve their challenge now instead of waiting? Okay, many times when we have a fear or a frustration or a desire or an aspiration, we haven't thought through what's going to happen if we don't take action and solve it now. Now, that's a big problem, because if we don't solve it now, usually things will get worse. Opportunities will pass away. We'll get into more of a pickle than we're already in. So, what information, if my prospective customer were to learn it, would help them see how important it is to solve their challenge now instead of waiting? And then we can educate them about it. Finally, what types of educational materials can I create that would both educate and sell my products and services? So, how could you create educational materials that would educate and sell products and services and also really feel like high-value content? Okay, answer those 3 questions, and I'll see you in the next session of Marketing Step by Step.